is the president, are you willing to consider adopting?
Well, I'm not a part of those negotiations that's being done up on the Hill between Senate and House and the White House. I'm not really a part of those negotiations. But look, you know, when they say stop racial profiling, that's just not occurring. I mean, you know, ICE will briefly detain and question somebody based on reasonable suspicion. It has nothing to do with racial profiling. As far as the mask, look, you know, I don't like the masks either. But because threats against ICE officers, are up over 1,500%, actual assaults, and threats are up over 8,000%. These men and women have to protect themselves. As far as identifying themselves, they all have placards identifying themselves as ICE, ERO, HSI, DEA, FBI. So they all have placards on them. So I'll let the White House and members of Congress, you know, fight that out. But I think some of the asks are just, I think they're unreasonable, because there is no racial profiling. There is identifying marks. But masks, you know, why don't they talk about maybe passing legislation to make it illegal to dox agents or something like that? But the masks right now are for officer safety reasons.
There are federal laws, of course, against injuring, harming, threatening federal authorities, so there is that. And I think one of the things that people get hung up on is the idea that the cop on the street in their neighborhood, a state police officer, other federal agents will identify themselves with their name on their lapel. And yes, they're employing agency, but why should these immigration agents be any different? And when it comes to the masks as well, you know, cops go out every day.
I don't know.
Everywhere across the country get threatened in one way or another. But why have to wear all that and protect themselves when there are others out there wearing badges that don't have to do that?
Well, again, they are wearing badges. They're wearing placards to identify what agency they're from.
But their name isn't on it, right?
When it comes to masks, I don't know of another law enforcement agency in the country that has an 8,000% increase in threats. Just yesterday, the director of ICE, his wife was filmed walking to work. His home address has been doxxed. His kids have been doxxed and filmed. So no, I don't know of another agency in this country that has an 8,000% increase. And then, look, let's remember why we're here, Ed. We're here because the last 4 years, over 10 million illegal aliens crossed that border, released in this country unvetted. ICE has to do a law enforcement response to deal with the last 4 years of open border, where they claimed the border was secure every day, and it wasn't.
What's so wrong about obtaining a judicial warrant to enter private property?
That's not what the federal law requires. Congress themselves wrote the Immigration Nationality Act that gave power on administrative warrant to arrest somebody, and that's what's set up in federal statute. So if Congress wants that changed, then Congress can legislate. But right now, ICE is acting within the framework of federal statutes enacted by Congress and signed by a president.
Well, as I recall, you have previously said that you thought judicial warrants were necessary for searches. There's been this change in policy in that now ICE can go with these administrative warrants that are issued by ICE personnel. Why your change of heart? I mean, clearly there, at one point at least, you agreed that was necessary.
No, I don't have a change of heart. What I understand, and I wasn't part of the discussion, is that DOJ interpreted that law saying in certain circumstances, administrative warrant on somebody that has a final order removal already had a due process issued by a federal judge, they can enter premises. I'm not a part of that discussion, but that's the DOJ guidance.
Last week you announced